you. How are we doing? Oh, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. That's okay for a full day, but I think this crowd's got more energy. Good afternoon, everyone. There we go. We got a lot of work to do, so we got to keep up our energy. So thank you so much for making some time for me here at the end of your day. I want to thank Neil for that kind introduction. Neil did tell me, he said, I'm here to introduce you, but I'm going to talk about the president. And I said, look, always lead with the big guy, you know? But the reason why that is not only okay with me, but I think the perfect tone with which to set this ending commentary is because, as with every initiative, all the things we do, the commitment comes from the top. And when you have that commitment from the top of any organization, whether it's the administration, whether it's the Department of Justice, a U.S. Attorney's Office, or a company, as we have seen, that is when you see real change. And that is when everyone builds it into their own models of accountability and productivity and the things that they do. And I can't tell you what a pleasure it is to work in this administration and have so many partners, not just Neil and his other colleagues at the White House Counsel's Office, but my colleagues throughout the administration and other agencies, and of course in the Oval Office itself, who are truly, deeply, bone-deep dedicated to this issue. This issue of fundamental fairness cuts through, I hope you see, everything or so many things that this administration has focused on over the years, from access to health care to access to legal care, the idea that individuals ought to have a pathway to, in fact, exercise their fundamental rights. It's not novel, it's not new, but this administration is working to make it real, and I'm tremendously proud to be a part of it. So you all have had a great day. I, too, have seen the agenda. I've been quite impressed by it and had the ability to watch a part of the last panel from the green room over there in the back, you know, from which we always emerge from behind the curtain to the awe of the crowd. But let me thank everyone who's worked so hard to put this panel together. I see my dean, Martha Minow, who's here, led the panel. I know that John Levy's here. I know Jim Sandman is here. The leadership of the Legal Services Corporation over the last several years has been groundbreaking. You've led us in new directions. You have focused on the core mission of providing legal services while also making sure that you embrace the new technology offered by Microsoft and others, and you embrace the new ideas, and that you truly listen to the people whose needs you are trying to serve. And that's actually nothing short of revolutionary. So I thank all of you for that and for your commitment there. There's some colleagues of mine from the Department of Justice whom you've seen earlier today, Lisa Foster and her team at the Office of Access to Justice. They work every day, all day and well into the night, to broaden opportunity, to expand horizons for people who don't always think of government as the place they should turn to for help. And Lisa and her team work very, very hard to change that. And so I thank them every day for all that they do. All of your speakers today, I particularly am sorry that I missed, as Neil indicated, the earlier panels. And I know that you had Congressman Kennedy here earlier, and Congressman Kennedy and Congressman Brooks have organized the first Access to Civil Legal Services caucus in the House. And I meet with the different caucuses regularly to talk about their different points of interest and focuses. And this, I think, is one that I think is going to expand and grow and pull in members from across the aisle and from all ranges of experience. But the caucus that focuses on access to civil legal services, recognizing that this, too, is one of government's fundamental missions. And I was actually privileged to hear about the Microsoft announcement. Brad, that is groundbreaking. I think to marry technology and the law in a way that helps, in a way that expands access to justice for so many people is really going to be the model of things to come. I tell you, I actually first heard of this model of using online resources when I was in Rwanda last fall talking to the Minister of Justice there. And of course, in a country that only 22 years ago was completely devastated and saw their legal system in particular completely devastated, they've had to focus on innovative ways to make sure that people in far-flung areas have access to justice. And they're using kiosks and automated kiosks there as well. And I remember thinking this is something that we need one of our great American companies to pick up and do. And of course, there is Brad, and as you are in so many ways, partnering with the legal profession and with these ideas and bridging that gap. And I think it's just such a tremendous testament to your team there, and so I thank you for all of that. And thanks to all of you who have come here together today to talk about, to think about, to plan, to build on all of these great ideas, to support the mission of the Legal Services Corporation, which is so fundamental to the tenets of our great society. And of course, that mission is nothing less than the fulfillment of one of our fundamental promises to every American. The promise, the conviction, the commitment that in the United States, here in this country, every single person should be equal under the law. But of course, as you all know and as you have discussed, for far too many Americans, justice is a commodity that they feel they can't afford, rather than a right, a fundamental birthright to which they are entitled. And in this country, in this time, and particularly in this administration, that is unacceptable. It's just unacceptable. We can't have it. Inadequate access to justice can devastate families, it damages communities, and even worse, it erodes Americans' trusts in our institutions of government and law. And realistically, how can you expect someone to trust their government when they can't even get in the courthouse door to be heard? Or if they do, they find that the justice system that's supposed to be free and open and working for them is trying to charge them some kind of entrance fee. How can you expect that kind of trust? And without that essential trust, as we have seen in so many areas of modern life, people are literally adrift. People are alone. They are without support at some of the most difficult times of their lives. And when they look out for help and when they look for someone to have their back, Legal Services Corporation is there. And so I thank you so much for always, always extending a hand and fulfilling that commitment. This forum itself is part of that commitment. And so it's a wonderful thing that you do every year. And I'm, again, thankful that you've asked me to spend a few minutes with you. Now, people here today are coming from a variety of backgrounds, a variety of experiences. And I thought the last panel was so fascinating in all of the different responses to the issue of why is this an important question? How does it tie into financial services? How does it tie into the business community? How does it tie into the tech community? But what I thought as I was listening, what struck me was that the common thread among all of the vaunted and so wonderful business leaders that I heard was their connection to the human capital that is still the essence of every enterprise in this country. And without the protection of that human capital, without investment in that human capital, without the growth of that human capital, these organizations will not grow and thrive and be the leaders that they need to be into the 21st and even 22nd century. Now, there are also so many people here from other areas who have focused on this issue also. We have judges here. I know so many chief judges are here. Who are really, really focused on making sure that their courtrooms are open and accessible to everyone. Our legal aid lawyers who are here in the trenches every day. I will tell you that some of my most fulfilling moments when I was in private practice was when I was proud to serve on the board of the Legal Aid Society of New York and the Federal Defenders Society, also in New York, working with those lawyers to make sure they had the resources they need to carry out this essential mission. And now that I'm at the Department of Justice, I am tremendously proud to stand with all of you. Every group here has such an important role to play in this inspiring work, and we are determined to continue to do our part as well, to fight alongside with you for the rights of our most vulnerable citizens. And that's why we took to heart your recommendation stemming from an earlier conversation that we've had on this very issue. Our December 2015 convening on the issue of fees and fines and access to justice. And one of the recommendations that we received from this group was that the department work on providing greater clarity to our state and local court partners regarding their legal obligations with respect to fees and fines, and to share best practices in this area. And I want you to know that we took that to heart. And just last month, we provided that information to court systems around the country, and we look forward to working closely with you on the other recommendations made, both at that time and the recommendations that will come out of today's convening as well. But that's also why we're looking to the future, because even though justice is a birthright, in order to ensure that we can dispense justice, of course, we need resources. And that is why we have proposed a number of new initiatives in the President's Fiscal 2017 budget request. Yes, we have hope that there will be a budget in 2017. I'm new to Washington. I can still have hope. These initiatives that we're supporting include grants that would allow states to improve the delivery of legal services. It includes funding to establish a civil legal aid research institute. And it's why we also strongly support the President's Fiscal 2017 budget request for the Legal Services Corporation. And that request for 2017 at $475 million is $90 million more than Congress appropriated this year. The need is real, the need is deep, and we know that you are effective stewards of this money on behalf of the people who truly need these resources. LSC is the backbone of civil legal assistance throughout the United States, and I am urging Congress to fund it at a level that reflects this tremendous importance to the creation of the more equal country that all of us strive to serve. Now, of course, as in our efforts to expand legal aid, we're so proud to partner with Legal Services Corporation, but we also rely on partners from across the federal government. And in my role as Attorney General, I am tremendously proud to co-chair the White House Legal Aid Interagency Round Table, which bears, of course, the rather unfortunate acronym of LAIR, because everything in D.C. has an acronym. But it's staffed by the Office for Access to Justice, Lisa Foster's office, and it brings together 21 different federal agencies in an effort to identify and enhance legal aid opportunities. Because, as we've also discussed, sometimes in the discussions that we have on this issue, talking just lawyer to lawyer, we think in a linear, lawyer-to-lawyer way, and we can miss what's right under our nose. That's a very real need of someone for access to legal justice. And so many federal programs depend upon access to justice in order to make their promise real. Now, the President recently recognized the importance of LAIR's work by elevating it to the level of a White House initiative last September of 2015. And it is going to be a tremendous resource, we think. And through that, as well as through the Reentry Council, we're identifying numerous barriers just to everyday life that people could use the assistance of lawyers in order to surmount. Not just housing, but employment discrimination, or just help in knowing whether or not there is a claim. In learning, and people who are coming back into society will often need legal assistance in determining whether or not they're eligible for certain grants and jobs. And when that assistance is provided across the board, we see services being utilized at a higher rate. We see people actually taking advantage of all the benefits of American life. Now also, with the Corporation for National and Community Service, we've joined with them with our Elder Justice Initiative and our Office for Victims of Crime. Together, this tripartite group has recently launched what we're calling Elder Justice Americorps. Now, Elder Justice Americorps is a grant program. It is going to expand the capacity of local legal aid programs to specifically address elder abuse and neglect and exploitation, because we are seeing this on the rise. And because, of course, our elderly citizens, those who raised us, and those whom we should seek to honor every day, deserve to live in safety and dignity. Some of our other partners are the Department of Labor, and we're working with the Department of Labor to help establish the National Clean Slate Clearinghouse. And this is going to help local legal aid programs and public defenders and reentry service providers improve their ability to help clients clean their records and expunge their records where they have the right to do that. Because Americans with criminal records deserve a meaningful second chance in life. And because all of us deserve to be seen as more than the worst thing that we have ever done. And this fall, we're going to roll out the first annual report to the President on LAIR's progress. And this document is going to detail the series of programs and initiatives, some of which I've mentioned just now, but it's going to outline everything that we're working on that will also include a legal aid component. Now, this work must go on. And I know that we have several Chief Justices who have been here throughout the day, and I want you to know that I stand with you and your colleagues and the Conference of Chief Justices in your commitment to provide meaningful and appropriate legal services to every person with an essential legal aid need. You see it all. The homeowners who are struggling to avoid foreclosure, the survivors of domestic violence who are seeking protective orders, the parents who are fighting for custody of their children, and the veterans who have defended our rights overseas only to be denied their rights here at home. So many situations which cry out for legal assistance across the board. So many of our fellow Americans who deserve protection. So many people to whom we have a responsibility to act. And of course, it's this responsibility, this belief, that led Congress to create the Legal Services Corporation in 1974. And it's that conviction that all of us here today in this room and beyond are reaffirming today. And although we still have a long way to go, it is true, before every American is truly equal under the law, I am tremendously encouraged by the progress that we have made. And I am confident that with the devotion and the commitment of everyone in this room, we will continue to advance toward a United States in which every individual in every community sees the door to the courthouse as truly open, and where liberty and justice belong to all. So thank you for letting me spend a few minutes with you here today. Thank you for putting this wonderful forum together. Simply, I know, to pause in your work, to get together and collect new ideas and new initiatives, and thank you so much for what you're about to do, which is go forth from this gathering and continue the work that truly makes America great, bringing America home to everyone on our beloved shores. So thank you so very, very much for your work and your caring and your commitment. Thank you.